What's up and welcome back to the Kind of Funny Screencast. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes and I'm joined by the big daddy himself, Greg Miller.
Hello.
The producer slash seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hello.
And matching in a beautiful hat, just like the producer slash seducer, we have the big Kev Dog.
I'm drinking a lot of milk, and I haven't taken my lactose pill yet. But
here we go, guys.
Party time.
Tell your body who's boss.
9, 8.
That is so disturbing to think about. I hate it so much. What's up, everyone? Like I said, this is the Kind of Funny Screencast where each and every week we get together to talk about the latest in TV, movies, and trailers. Sometimes all three when there's crazy weeks like the one that we're having right now. If you haven't been paying attention, Kind of Funny has been killing it on all fronts. If you're into video games, youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. If you're into entertainment, youtube.com/kindoffunny. There has been a ton of stuff, whether it's Summer Game Fest, Stranger Things, Kenobi, Miss Marvel, The Boys, Thor, Love, and Thunder. Things are just popping off over here. So check out all of our different podcasts, all of our different YouTube channels, and you can watch live a whole bunch of different shows on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. We do a lot of cool stuff out here. But if you wanted to get this show ad-free, and if you wanted to watch live as we record this, you got to go to patreon.com/kindoffunny. Just like our Patreon producers, Gordon McGuire, Molecule, and Fargo Brady have done. Today, we're brought to you by Shopify and Athletic Greens, but I'll tell you about that later. I want to get right into it, boys. Miss Marvel episode 2 came out last night on Disney Plus. We all watched it. What did we think? I want to start with you, Nick Scarpino.
I liked it. I think this show is I don't want to use the word, but I will use the word. It's very cute. It's very endearing. And it's very much a nice counter swing from a lot of the other superhero shows that we're reviewing right now, right? This show it has just a different vibe than The Boys, and I like that. I'm kind of like, oh, I didn't know I needed this in my life, but this is a nice kind of wholesome superhero story. I like that she's starting to learn her powers. I like that she thought she had everything going for her, and it kind of all turned upside down. It's cool. This was, I think, the episode where I got a little bit more interested in the show than last week's, because I think we're starting to see some of the other stuff that's going to be happening, which is super cool.
Kev.
I really dug it. I think this show is doing such a good job of keeping the aesthetic and the feeling that it has. And it's also like, man, they're making me really care about these characters. Where it's like, I can't believe how much like her like nerdy best friend. I'm like, no, clearly he's in love with you. Like, what are you doing? You know? And then this other guy where it's like, I don't trust him. And then it ends and I'm like, oh, no, fuck.
I shouldn't trust him. This worked out.
Oh, wait, you think that that's a good thing?
No, I'm
the
saying
way it ends?
It worked out for you, Kevin. You shouldn't have trusted him. You were right.
Right. Yeah. But like, yeah, I'm super into this show, and it's like, it is lighthearted in a really fun way that is still really entertaining, and I feel like this is exactly what the MCU Disney Plus shows should be, and I hope this is kind of the tone they do with younger stuff. Like, if we ever get an X-Men series, like, it'd be really cool if it's fun like this.
Greg Miller.
I adore this show. I adore this episode. I think it delivered, again, everything I loved from episode 1. I think, Iman is such a fantastic actor. Like, just watching her when she can't, like, her fawn, right, and just go for this new guy, this hot senior, right, just fawn over him, and then when it actually looks like it's going their way, where something's up, and she comes in and dances around to Be My Baby, like, first off, just flashbacks to fucking Goodfellas.
Wait, stop. I was going to say, which movie does that make you think of?
Of course it's Goodfellas. Come on.
Because it's hilarious to me that I didn't think Goodfellas first.
Would you think?
I'll give anyone a free Starbucks if they can guess what movie I was thinking of with that song. It's the beginning of Adventures in Babysitting when Elizabeth Shue comes in.
Yeah. That's a good call. That's a good pull too. But her dancing around, like, it was another one of those things where I was just sitting there like slack-jawed, like, this is so much fun to watch. She is so much fun to watch. And again, I could watch this even if it was just her being a kid. And what it really gave me, I tweeted about how much I liked her, and I almost did one of, like, I can't remember the last person whose performance like I liked this much, and I stopped myself because what I'm getting is pangs of Lana Condor into All the Boys I've Loved Before. Like I think she's doing Amon in Ms. Marvel is doing as great a job, if not better, maybe even, of doing like that adolescence, first love, trying to figure out high school, being the odd duck. I loved, episode 2 starting with the reverse of episode 1, like her walking through the hall and just fucking owning it because she's a superhero now and she's got powers, and like how easy it was just to change the tide of being the outcast in high school once you have a little bit of confidence in going through and doing that. And I think, again, the hero stuff is great. I love them exploring her powers and training and doing stuff that a lot of movies gloss over, right? A lot of things do just gloss over. And even though this was a montage with no explanation and no debate, where I liked having her have these conversations with Bruno. But that aside, just watching her go to mosque, her talk to her friend about running for it, the friend, having to talk to the Euro guy, be like, I'll only politics is dirty. Like, it was just fucking great all around, let alone the fact that, again, like Tim, we talked about this last week, is fans of the comic, I'm stoked to not know where we're going, right? Like when the senior got introduced and she started flirting with her, Jen was immediately like, oh, he's like going to be actually Stewie's nephew or an undercover agent, right? That for damage control. And I was like, oh, right. And then they started interrogating him. I'm like, wait, they don't know that she has powers yet. And so then like to see, the great grandmother in the thing, they're like, oh, okay, cool. And then to have her in the back of the car, I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like this show's just killing it for me.
Yeah,
Tim,
by the way, don't trust anyone that shows up that looks like a 35-year-old guy that drives a badass Porsche.
Dude,
Like,
that
this
fucking
kid does
Porsche, man. Woo!
This kid does not belong in high school. Tim, what do you think?
I am enamored by the show. Right there with all you guys, with this, like, this is something I think that's truly special to me. I've always loved the kind of high school drama stuff, and I think that this is the best version of it I could have ever possibly imagined in the MCU. I think that they are really doing a great job of having a supporting cast that lifts up Iman as well as they do, because she is so fantastic on her own. But I think the show's strength is the fact that, like Kevin was saying, it's like, I care about this Bruno kid. And like, there's just like an authenticity to the way that they speak to each other and kind of interact that doesn't feel MCU. And it's interesting because we're at this point now, 30 plus projects in, where I feel like ever since phase 3 started, there's been a lot of moments that we've been like, we've never seen something like this in the MCU before. And I feel like in recent times that might not necessarily have been the best thing with things like Eternals or things like Moon Knight. But I feel like with this, I'm feeling that way in a positive way, in a very, very positive way. And I think that so much of it has to do with the reasons I liked Thor Ragnarok, where Thor Ragnarok kind of rebooted the idea of Thor in so many ways, and like just the style and the learnings from the colors of Guardians and all that. This show is kind of able to take the learnings of everything that's come before it and simultaneously be one of the most unique MCU things we've ever had, while also entirely relying on MCU, but in a way that doesn't feel like you have to have watched 30 projects for this to make sense. It's more, they do such a good job of in world making the MCU a real thing.
Yeah.
And they did that so well in episode 1. But I think that as we kind of like hit the ground running in episode 2, I'm really interested in the different plot threads going on. I think that they did a really good job with pacing in terms of giving the side characters storylines and things to do, where I think of the family the same way I think of the band in Scott Pilgrim, where it is equally a part of why I love that product, is that it's not just the main character and it's not just the superheroing stuff. It is kind of the dynamics between everybody. And again, the authenticity that I feel from the way that these kids are talking, where it doesn't feel like how I talked in high school. It feels like how I imagine kids are talking in high school now. And I think that that's always the passing of the torch, where you realize you're getting older and like what a high school coming of age story starts to change. So Nick, this might be like iteration 3 or 4.
I was going to say,
there's no reason to pick on him.
They're not going to the roller skate sock hop. This old man doesn't
I just want to check if he was listening.
I was listening. I have to issue a correction, but go ahead and finish that thought.
Go for it.
I was mistaken, unfortunately. I heard that song and I thought it was "And Then He Kissed Me," which was at the beginning of Adventures of Babysitting. Joey Noel has corrected me in the Slack. She says, "Nick, you were wrong. That is Be My Baby" by the Ronettes that she was singing when she walks in, which was a Dirty Dancing song. So I will be now taking the strap and beating my back for the rest of the episode in the corner.
Strap.
Good.
Yeah, it's a very small strap, but the Italians like to
up.
just make it hurt. You got to just stay in there for a while.
But the last thing I would say is I feel like this show's identity is, despite the fact that I've now brought up Scott Pilgrim 2 weeks in a row, I do think that it is very unique. I think it is its own. I don't think that it's just kind of doing the Scott Pilgrim thing, it like the Marvel way. Like I think it has its own identity, and I think that is because of the amount of culture in this and the color being used very much backs up the kind of stories being told, and in the ways where it's like it's not ever clear where it's like this is fantasy, this is reality. It kind of goes back and forth in a beautiful way where sometimes there is a clear distinction. The dance scene, she comes in and you can tell that's how she's feeling, and she hears the music and all this stuff.
So
but then when her mom talks to her, the colors totally change for the palette of the room or whatever. And then when she gets back into it, it pops in again. And it's like, I really love it. And the last thing I want to say before we get into a wider conversation is one of my biggest fears of the show that I iterated again last week was the villains and where they're going with it. And there was one shot in the trailers that really gave me pause of her, of like a group of people kind of coming out of like smoke and shit. And I was like, I don't know about this. We got hints of that in this episode. And I think in context of the smoke kind of being more in like a vision thing that she's seeing when she got like the purple eye situation, I'm like, okay, maybe they can pull this off. So I'm feeling even more hopeful now than I was before, which is saying a lot because I am very much loving this show.
Jumping off one of the things he said, like, again, you don't need to understand the MCU or know it and have reviewed every film twice or whatever, like we have to enjoy it. But I did enjoy, I do really enjoy how they layer it in. And again, like you're saying, it's not necessarily the most fun front-facing thing, right? Because when she starts and stuff and makes the joke about Ant-Man, right? And he's like, why did you think you have Ant-Man powers? He's like, oh, we're both charming and we don't age. Like, it's just like such a great thing of like, the real world thing of like Paul Rudd still being Paul Rudd 30 years later after Clueless or whatever. And the same thing for when her and Kamran are talking about Bollywood, right? And they're talking about a lot of touchstones I don't know because I don't know Bollywood, but then they bring in Kingo and Kingo Senior, right? And they're pulling Kumail's character from Eternals, but layering it in with what I assume is real conversations about Bollywood. And I was like, that's fucking
straight
really
out of the comics.
Yeah,
those conversations, like those exact, like the references, the Bollywood references are straight from the first comic run, which is so cool. But yeah, the Kingo references got me, man. I thought that was so funny. Them talking about Kingo Senior versus Kingo as if they're different people, and like they like because we see that in Eternals, right? And they explain it all, but like to hear real people talking about it and they don't know, it's very funny.
So good.
Yeah, into broader destruction, like right. I think we're giving a lot of praise for everything. The one of the things I thought was flat for me was how uninspired it was on getting away from damage control. Like I thought she was going to get captured in the alley, right? She jumps over the thing, climbs over the people, and they do that. Like, and again, we're watching a superhero young adult show, so whatever, grade it how you want to. But she does the steps over the damage control people, and they're all like, what? And then there's enough time for a car to pull up or get in the car to pull away, and then them get around and be like, where did she go? You know what I mean? It's like, all right, now is that going to be a power or something of her great grandmother? Maybe that she could put up some kind of shield. I doubt it, but I was a little like, that's hard for me to suspend my disbelief. In a similar way too of when she got on top of the mosque during the carnival or whatever and had her entire suit on. I thought we were gonna have a cool moment of like, how do you hide your powers, or how do you? Is she gonna have to change her suit to be something like what it'll be more like eventually? It was like, no, she just had her whole paper mache costume there. I'm like, okay.
Did also that kid that fell, was he wearing the Versace shoes that got stolen earlier in the episode?
I didn't notice.
Oh, was he the thief?
I mean, I don't know. I felt like they looked really familiar. Like, I mean, they had a very distinct look, and
you're saying, Kevin, she should let him die.
Yeah, no, 100%. Also, I mean, this is like a situation where this kid was going where he shouldn't go. Like, it's a powerful lesson for the
kids are never going to.
Kevin, in order to compete with all these young kids on the TikTok, you got to get up. You got to get up to the heights.
Is that right? You think so?
The heights, Brody. Yeah.
The Heights, not a great musical, but okay.
I liked that scene. I liked all the stuff with her friend too. I thought that was kind of interesting that they threw that side story in there with her running for the board of and kind of the old world, or the older generation versus the newer generations in the mosque, where she was kind of Kamala and her friend Nakia, thank you, are kind of giving the guys shit for being like, why is there still this partition between us? Which I guess is the wrong word to use because they talked about the partition later, but they talk about that physical divide between them, and it's still that sort of like older culture that they would like to see some progress in. I thought that was interesting. I was like, that's a more heavy subject than I would have
Yeah,
thought would have
there's
been put into
commentary
this
on
episode.
this faith, right?
Yeah.
Something, you know, you don't see this faith represented in most of the media we consume to begin with, let alone to then have a take on it, to talk about the fact that, yeah, this is a bit outdated in the same way, you know, for Catholicism, right? We've been talking forever, like, why can't women be priests? This is stupid. What are you doing?
Right.
I also really appreciated when her friend pops into the bathroom and offers her a tampon and talks about pads, and, you know, mentions like how her mom, I know your mom's got a thing, is weird about tampons. Like, another thing you rarely see represented in the media we consume, let alone the fact in a MCU show, a Marvel show, talking about menstruation.
It's an interesting point to make too, because those two things usually are represented. They're just usually represented in a bad way. Right. So like the Islam is usually like up until this point is usually represented as something that's like, you know, usually bad guys or something like that. So seeing it in a positive light and seeing people, like characters that we like on screen in a mosque in a positive way it's refreshing. Let's just put it that way.
100%. And to go even further with it, Nick, I think not only, yes, not most of the time, lots of times it's representing in a negative light. If the other times it's represented it's clearly always the side character. It is the best friend who wears is it hijab? There was a different pronunciation in the show. I just thought it was hijab. But she pronounced it different in the show, so I apologize if I'm getting it wrong. But like, usually that's the best friend who's wearing that and makes some reference to their faith, and that's the end of it. Whereas this one is so embedded in the culture. And like, you know, I think in episode 1 they did a bunch, and I know I talked to Tamor about it after we watched that, and I know they do a bunch here too, but using you know, words and not translating for us, right? Like, they're just dropping in, you figure out, it's like the same way, I guess, like Abu, like, you know what I mean? Like, I eventually figured out, like, you know, from comics, so that means dad or whatever. Like, they maybe even explained it at some point there, but the fact they do that here, and then I liked, again, for as much as they drop that in and maybe we feel like outsiders watching it, I appreciate it when she's talking to Kamran and drops in and then translate my mom, and he's like, I know what you mean, like blah blah, and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool way to do it too. And then even like the history of, like, I know nothing about the partition, I know nothing about, you know, the history of India, right? To drop that into such casual conversation, to make it not only poignant and resonate with me, but then also make it a plot point of where we're going and how she got these powers. Like, this show's fucking killing it.
And just real quick, I want to say, like, something that hit me really hard in the same vein as this stuff was the damage control guy, who I absolutely love. But him being the just be respectful. The FBI is already watching them. You know that. And it's like, damn, like, that's some real shit that y'all dropping on a freaking Disney Plus show. Good for you guys.
Oh God, I had one more point I was going to make about that. Yeah, but I agree all around. I thought it was refreshing to see all of that in there. And damn it, I had a point. It was in and out. It was in and out.
One thing that I didn't love about this, and this is a very subjective, nitpicky thing, but I thought that the Mean Girls-esque going around the different groups and like giving them the names and stuff. I love the punchline of the Illuminati aunties. Fantastic. But I just thought it was like, all right, that was a little trite. Like, we've seen that so many different times. I don't think that this gave enough of a twist on it to make it like its own thing. But I did love the ending of it and having all the aunties there talking. And the one that goes, I heard she killed a man. Dead. It's like, these just random supporting characters just give the show so much life. Nick?
I remember what I was going to say. Yeah. So like, so growing up watching movies with the Italian culture in it, and you'd hear a lot of Italian words that I would know, but other people wouldn't necessarily know. This kind of gives me that resonance where it's like, they're telling us here and there, like what certain words mean, but the fact that they refer to each other as like, you know, beta and like those terms of endearment, like, it reminds me of watching Italian movies, Goodfellas, other shows where Italians are represented, and it made people go, oh, well, you know, everyone knows what gabagool is now because of stuff like that. Everyone knows what a ganul is, you know, but you wouldn't necessarily when you're watching it, but you get the vibe that there's the love there, or whatever the turn of phrase is supposed to imbue upon the audience. So I just think it's cool that they hold your hand a little bit, but then they're also like, no, this is a show where this culture is represented, and you're gonna watch that. You're gonna be in that, and you're gonna figure it out.
Before we keep talking about our thoughts on the show, let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. I've been using AG1 the last few months because I figured it was well past time I start thinking about vitamins, but I'm usually not the biggest fan of their format. So being able to drink a flavored water is much more up my alley. And I'm a huge fan here of the fact that it doesn't taste super healthy. It kind of has like this mild tropical taste to it that I look forward to every morning. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. It's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/kindafunny. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/kindafunny to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. athleticgreens.com/kindafunny. This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved only for big businesses to everyone. So upstarts, startups, established businesses, content creators alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. I love how Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed, from down the street to across the globe. Our content creator friends use Shopify to manage all their merch sales and stuff, and I recently got Gia a pair of Allbirds from the Allbirds website, which also uses Shopify. So that's an example of big websites using Shopify for their sales. You can gain insights as you grow with detailed reporting on conversion rates, profit margins, and to help you supercharge your knowledge of your sales and your success. You can go to shopify.com/kfgames, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial, and you can get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/kfgames right now. That's shopify.com/kfgames for a free 14-day trial. Shopify.com/kfgames. Love getting some Stark tech in this. The drones from Far From Home
Spider-Man,
that they took from No Way Home, and now I guess Damage Control is kind of using them. The Damage Control woman was really intense. And
I was
kinda
gonna say,
scared.
shout out to her. I don't have her name pulled up. I
like her
know
a
her
lot.
from Orange Is the New Black, and she
Yeah,
was
thank you.
intimidating
Oh,
in that,
yeah.
and totally a
Thank you.
fucking hard ass. And then to see her in this, I'm like, oh yeah, and like yeah, when she comes in and starts fucking busting Kamala Khan's ass, I was like, oh no. And again, yeah, shout out earlier. We did it to Arion, our bro here, Damage Control Stewie, fucking killing it out there. And like, yeah, because again, even when he starts, it's so reminiscent of when he played Ned.
Ned, I
Right?
was gonna
Just come
say,
in and
I
be like,
love
oh
it.
yeah. I was really
We
hoping
follow
Murdoch would
you.
pop back
You-
up, but
He
yeah.
was like, your recipe for light popcorn is incredible.
Popcorn,
It's all we eat around it. Yeah.
She starts singing the song too.
And then I love how quickly he turns that corner, right? He flips that switch on everyone. He gets them to like love him and like let their guard down. And that's so funny. But yeah, those guys are good.
I love the little MCU things too, of just like the style of humor where it's just kind of like there's a lot of things that aren't jokes, but like they might make you like, you know, put air out of your mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just love in the same way in Spider-Man Homecoming, like this show obviously has a lot of the same vibes just because we're dealing with younger characters. But Spider-Man, do a flip. Like I love it this one. It's Nightlight. She's like up on the thing.
I
Like
love it.
the idea of just like random people being so used to superheroes that like when a new one comes out, like the names just start forming, like Night Monkey or whatever. I think that's really funny. And another thing that I love about what the MCU does is its visual kind of guidelines and its sound design and stuff. Like we talk a lot about how Guardians really kind of redefined the MCU's palette, but then things like Doctor Strange really defining what magic looks like, and et cetera, et cetera. You guys get what I'm saying. But I like how in this one, with her powers, like the sound design of the way when she steps on it all, like it's really cool. And like it's like unlike anything we've heard so far, in the same way that when we heard the repulsor blast from Iron Man the first time, I was like, damn, this is really damn cool.
Or to put in context for something we're talking about this week, that first sound of the Destroyer, which I still stand by is the coolest sound effect in any MCU.
We're doing a Thor rewatch in review.
Yeah, well, that's happening this week, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I love all that, and I thought that scene at the end was, I think, a very pivotal scene. Right, we have that moment where her friend comes up to her and says, "Hey, we got to practice tonight, right? We got to keep practicing. We got to keep figuring out these powers." And she sees the hot guy on the porch. She was like, "Nope, I got other stuff I got to do." And then she almost kills that kid because she doesn't know how to use her powers. And I think that's a pivotal moment for me, because I'm never a fan when it's like I like to sit in the pocket of people, the origin story, right? I think that's the whole point of a lot of these first seasons of these shows, is I want to see these people struggle with these powers and with what they mean to them, and with having to make that sacrifice between being a superhero and being a normal kid. And I think we weren't getting a lot of that. Even like my criticism last week, where like the quote unquote mean girl, bad girl was just kind of nice. Like she was just kind of self-absorbed, but she wasn't mean. And so we're getting some conflict in this, which I think is really, really good. And I'm really curious to see what this kid in the Porsche, I forget his name. What is his name?
Kamran.
What his deal is with. For a second, I was like, because I watched this way too late, I was like, wait a minute. If that's her great grandma, does that make him her brother? I didn't do the math really well on that one. But I also want to throw this. I also want to throw this out there. It's never a good idea to lie to someone's brother, especially if you think you're going to date that person. That scene, that was one of those scenes that didn't take me out of it. I'm like, this is so Friends 1.0, where it's like, this person's going to come, the brother's going to see you and know it's not your cousin, right?
Well, yeah, it's the stupidest lie ever of like, this is our cousin. You remember him. And it's like, there's going to be follow-ups. Like, how,
there's going to be questions.
You should have just been like, he's your cool brother. Like, he'll understand.
Yeah. You don't think your mom's going to go through the family tree and figure that one out pretty quickly?
I still liked it. I liked it. I hear you. I think it was just a commentary on how big their family is, that you can get lost in the branches of it, and that like it's also one of those things. I can't speak to their culture, but how many like uncles and aunts do you have that aren't actually blood necessarily, that are just all raised around each other?
Well, it ending with the brother like either joking or remembering incorrectly that like he was a cousin in the Haram.com run is like that is such a fucking
it's one
funny
of those
joke.
It's one of those too that like like you get to that situation and you're like I do remember you, right? Because you don't want to look like an idiot, right? And their mom also does strike me as the type, if he came home and was like, does Uncle whoever have a nephew who, and like, you know what I mean? She'd be offended if he didn't remember it, right? Or something like that. He wants to be the good son. I was more, not perplexed isn't the right word. Again, we're getting a peek into a culture I don't fully understand. But like, it seemed like in the first episode, they knew the brother's fiance pretty well.
Yeah.
So then for her to come around and be getting these family stories that I feel like she would have heard by now. I was like,
years ago. It's one of those things where
I feel like I've had that situation happen where like we're all hanging out for like dinner and something comes up and like crazy old like grandma story comes out from like both sides of me, like being at my in-laws and Paula being at my family's house. So like, I don't know, that moment rang really true to my experiences, where it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly like, even though everybody knows Paula, there's still like randomly someone says something about her grandma and it's like, crazy grandma's hospital stories.
I mean, every time I hang out with your wife, I tell her things about you that you probably don't want me to. Like that one time I told her that you ate 3 milkshakes in one day and you got mad at me.
I got so mad at you. That ruined milkshakes for me for a long time, Nick.
I'm sorry, Kev. We'll get you on later.
No, it's ice cream on pizza. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
I love the memes about it.
This kid's so nervous. He's just like,
I like the texture. I like the texture.
When she's like, is that one food or two? But then like when he gets saved and all the memes go by, there was equal memes in there about ice cream pizzas. They were like, well, the stomach ache and shit like that.
When he says that and her response of like, is that one foods or two foods? Like I was literally saying that at the same time. And I was like, I like the way this is written.
Nick, did you appreciate the Bon Jovi stuff?
Oh my God. Well, all right.
New Jersey.
Yes,
Jersey
I appreciate the Bon Jovi stuff, but sometimes when people shoehorn that in there, this one felt like, okay, obviously the writer is a fan of Bon Jovi, and like it just felt a little inorganic that any family would be talking that deeply about Bon Jovi.
You say that, but remember they're in Jersey. They're in Jersey. He's a fucking god in New Jersey. If I call Tara Bruno right now, you think she's gonna flip out and tell me how much she loves Bon Jovi?
I mean,
I'm calling Tara.
But, Nick,
call Tara Bruno right now.
Oh my God, Tara Bruno freaking loves Bon Jovi. But even a cover, he said, trust me, even a cover band of Bon Jovi's gonna get people to talk for a long time.
Well, they did make a Slippery When Wet reference, which I was like, that's kind of an adult reference to this. I mean, obviously, I love it.
Don't tell me anything about that.
I love any of that stuff. But of course, my touchstone for John Bon Jovi is season 2 of Sex and the City. That was fair enough. Yeah. That was just for Joey. She's gonna be like, it was season 3, Nick.
She doesn't like Sex and the City. You should know that.
Joey doesn't like Sex and the City?
No, she's never watched it.
Oh, it's great. I'm watching.
This is the problem.
I've seen every episode, Nicholas.
Business owner friends, they're like, they can't answer their phone all the time.
It's because they're.
It always gives me anxiety that like the voice message immediately gonna be like, "This is my phone number. Call me back right now."
Here's my phone number, social security number.
When I was young, someone had told me that the Pokemon movie theme song was done by Bon Jovi, and for an embarrassing long time, I thought that was the case until someone at IGN was like, "Tim, that is not true at all."
That's okay. Yesterday, when Kevin and I were moving stuff around the new studio, he just started laughing to himself and he goes, "Shark repellent, huh?"
Dude, yo,
Listen, man.
I watched
Sometimes
something
things
Maverick-
stick with you.
I watched Maverick again, Nick. And when you see the flashback, the goose, like from the first movie, and it happened, I started laughing so hard. Like, God damn it, Nick, you're so you.
We
What
were
an
standing. To be fair, Nick, we were standing next to a ladder, and I thought, oh, like when the ladder dropped out of the helicopter.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then I thought, oh yeah, shark repellent.
Greg, real quick, just to catch you up and give you the little bit of context you need here. In the classic film Top Gun from 1986, there's
You've
a
seen
scene where
You're
a character
familiar.
dies in the water, and there's like this green stuff that comes
spoilers.
out from the from the body or
Right.
around it,
The
whatever,
cockpit,
and
the
it's to be
cockpit.
able for people to understand where he is or
It's
whatever.
just dye.
But
It's just
Nick,
the pilots can see.
when he was doing the plot for the movie, just not making a joke, totally seriously called it the shark repellent and thought it was shark
From
repellent.
Batman in 66.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I had conflated those two, and somewhere along the lines, when you're a kid, somewhere along the line, someone says something and it just sticks in
Yep,
your head.
that's what it is.
And then nobody ever corrects you until you're on a very popular podcast, and Kevin laughs at you, and you
You
just
do
like,
another
oh,
podcast?
you're a child. What's that?
I said you do another podcast.
No, that was a great moment where actually I think you guys let it go, and I was like, wait a minute, did I say shark repellent? Did that make sense?
Yeah, God, that was great.
Anyway,
Anyway,
we
back
can
to
go
Miss
talking
Marvel.
about this.
I'm
this,
so in, man. Keep going.
I'm
Nick.
interested. I do want there to be a bigger baddie, and I think we're gonna get there. And I'm curious. I'm very curious to see what's going on with the mystery of Kamran and his mom and the Porsche. And I hope the Porsche is prominently featured because this thing sounds mean for the rest of the show. But I want to get to that walking scene with the baddies walking down the alley, and she has to face off because I want to see her tested.
Did he say that was his mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said I'm
It's
happy
it's
for you to
her
meet my
great
mom."
grandmother, and then he's like,
So they're not cousins, but he's her uncle, right?
she has very much the wide-eyed reaction upon hearing that she's
Right.
turned on by somebody in her family.
Oh no.
It's a little Luke and Leia, man. Everyone's got a little Luke and Leia in them. If you know what I mean.
Don't. That's not a good joke. That's not a good
It is.
joke. You know,
10 years,
18,
18,
17,
Jesus.
17.
You know what? We're just gonna end here. Anyway, let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Miss Marvel episode 2. We'll be reacting to every single week. We got 4 more of these guys. Cool.
I want more than that, but I'm glad.
They're long too, 52
Yeah,
minutes
they're good
each. So I was
length.
like, all right, this is good.
I know that's been happening lately. Where every time I tune into something that's like an hour and 10, hour 15, hour 2, I'm like, I'm all for it, man. Let's go. Make them longer.
If you want to hear our thoughts on Kenobi, you can stay tuned in a couple hours. That video will be uploaded as well. Same place, youtube.com/KindaFunny, roosterteeth.com, or search your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny Screencast. But till next time, I love you all. Have a marvelous day.